Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. It's the 10 a.m. show, it's the morning show, a lot of transfer news coming out this morning and we did just go live, so sorry for being late and I thought we were live, we weren't live, but now we are and I'm here to bring you all the latest transfer news this morning. There's a lot coming out around Manchester United, a lot coming out around transfers, different type of journalists coming out with different type of statements, all regarding the same type of players, the same type of transfers that we're going after. It feels like to me that centre-back's definitely going to be our first transfer and the first deal that we get completed. And it's actually come out, I think it was late last night, around Portuguese journalist Pedro Almeida has come out and said that Jurrien Timber is just one step away from joining MUFC and the fee will be around 35 million euros. This is a really good start because we've had people coming out on Twitter, people wanting to be first, coming out and saying that Jurrien Timber is going to be signed by Manchester United. Internally, it's a lot further ahead than what top journalists are making out. And the likes of Fabrizio Romano has come back on that and said that MUFC have discussed Jurrien Timber again internally in the last 48 hours, alongside Pau Torres, who was also mentioned in the first meeting with Ten Hag. So Jurrien Timber news, to me, it seems like journalists, I'm not saying smaller journalists because Pedro Almeida is a reputable journalist, are coming out and going out there and saying that it is only one step away from Jurrien Timber joining Man United, whereas more reputable journalists who have a lot on the line, bigger journalists with a bigger following, are reluctant yet to make that plunge and make that step and tell everybody that this deal is going to happen. But for Fabrizio Romano to come out and say that Jurrien Timber is again been monitored in the last 48 hours alongside Pau Torres is something that's really, really good for Man United fans, that we are developing on getting a centre-back, and it does seem to be like it is going to be either Jurrien Timber or Pau Torres. Jurrien Timber seems like the more likely option because cheaper price, links with Ten Hag at Ajax. I feel like there's more news coming out surrounding him. It seems like the last couple of days, Pau Torres has been thrown back into the mix because he's someone that Manchester United has scouted and he's somebody that Manchester United have wanted to bring to Old Trafford for like two transfer windows now that we've been looking at Pau Torres, and it seems like we've discussed him with Ten Hag, but Ten Hag's priority, in my opinion, from what's still being discussed, is Jurrien Timber because he's not been a big target for Manchester United since Ten Hag's arrived, and Ten Hag's worked with him before. So I think it's really interesting that this story is developing. And obviously we heard Mark talk about on the show last night that since the changeover in transfer handlers, it's gone from Woodward to Arnold and Murto now. It does seem like Manchester United are trying to keep more of a lock and key around who they're going for and how advanced the talks are. Last season with Manchester United, stories around Sancho, stories around Varane, it was like a leaking sieve. There was news coming out every single day about really close to Manchester United and really leaking different details. This transfer window, and it is only the start, so we might seem to see more leaks come through. It seems like the bigger journalists don't quite have the same detailed information that they had last year. So if we are going for Jurrien Timber, which a lot of people have said it is basically close to being done now, it seems like Manchester United are keeping that quite quiet. I mean, we had Mark Ogden on yesterday, who's close with the club, and he didn't say anything about talks being advanced with Timber. So I feel like there's definitely talks going on. The talks are definitely advanced, but it could happen soon, in my opinion. And I think it's going to have to happen soon because, I mean, we had Romano come out last night and said that Manchester United are going to sign a centre-back, a centre-mid, a centre-forward and a full-back. Ten Hag ideally is going to want all of these players in for pre-season. And if all of these players are in for pre-season, it means Manchester United's got a lot of work to do within the next month. So to get deals done quickly and get deals over the line, we need to see them start accelerating, and we need to see these deals starting to happen. And I definitely think towards the start of June, when the transfer window actually opens, you'll see a lot more news come out around this. And I think you'll see, especially the centre-back deal, happen quite quickly. But interesting that Romano said that Jurrien Timber's name's been talked again internally in the last 48 hours alongside Pau Torres, who's also mentioned in the first meeting with Ten Hag. You've seen certain journalists on Twitter saying that Ten Hag is all for the Pau Torres deal. But to me, given our budget, which seems to be like it's going to be around 140, 150 million, getting two centre-backs, which I do think they would both be used as centre-backs. I mean, I know a lot of you guys have said that you think that Timber might be coming in as a right-back, and there's a lot of fan theories saying that Timber might be coming in as a right-back. I don't agree. The fact that the word alongside was used seems like they're both centre-back options. So I think they are both being considered as centre-backs, and I've seen a lot of people say that we should go and get both. But then you go and get both, and that's a lot of the transfer budget gone on centre-backs. We know that Manchester United are dealing with quite finite funds anyway, to then go and spend all of that money on two centre-backs when you could get one that Ten Hag is prioritising, has worked with before, is going to come into the start of the 11 for 35 million euros, and you have more money freed up to spend on other positions which we desperately in need of. I do see us only getting one of them centre backs. See it more likely being Timber, but you never know what happens at Manchester United. Things can change quickly, and like Mark Ogden said, the people, the board, John Murtough, and the people that make decisions around transfers will probably have the final say. So it just depends if we do go all out on Timber. But Timber is a great option, and I think it's the one that I see more likely to happen. You look at the price tag, 35 million euros, it's being reported. I think maximum we pay for Timber is 40 million euros, maximum. He's 20 years old. I was actually looking at his birthday today, and he's only like 10 days. He's 10 days younger than me. And I was like, wow, it's crazy that a player of that age is playing at a very, very high level with Ten Hag in Ajax. And if he came to Manchester United, I definitely think that he'd come straight into the first 11. Ten Hag isn't going to make a transfer that doesn't go into the first 11 right now. His first transfer is going to be a statement one. It seems like this is going to be the first one he brings in, and he's going to go straight into the first 11. So who does he dislodge? Some would say you'd play Timber with Varane. We'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be interesting developments to see how that progresses and moves forward, because it's really good. I think it's a really good option for Manchester United to first signing 35 million, not ridiculous money, promising player, a young player that we can develop. And I don't see us getting, people in the chat are saying that they think that we could see us getting both. The only way we see us getting both is if we sell Lindelof or Maguire, which I don't see happening, especially with Maguire. Lindelof, there's been slight rumours, but barely anything coming out around him. I mean, we do have Tuanzebe, Mengi, Phil Jones, Baye, all futures are up in the air, especially around Tuanzebe and Mengi, what's going to happen with them. But ideally, you're gonna need Lindelof and Maguire still at the club, aren't you? I mean, and with the transfer budget we've got, yes, ideally you would need two centre backs, because that back line, I mean, you saw it at Palace, you saw it at Brighton. It has got major issues. We've seen it all season. Ideally, two centre backs coming in would be it would be great for Manchester United fans. It would be great for Ten Hag. But with the budget that we've got, for me, it's just not possible that we get two. But we'll discuss both, because it could still be either or. It could still be Timber, or it could still be Pau Torres. I mean, Timber, the reasons why I think he would be so good for Manchester United, I've been reading up on him a lot and looking at him a lot. Again, mention his age again, 20 years old. Still got time to develop, nowhere near his prime yet, and he's already playing at elite level. Ten Hag has already developed him, already coached him, so he knows his strengths and weaknesses. He knows whether he'd be able to fit in the Premier League, and he knows how, if he wants to bring these players to Manchester United now, he thinks he's at the level to move to the Premier League. And if he thinks a 20-year-old is good enough to start at the heart of defence for Manchester United week in, week out, the development there is really, really promising, and it's really good to see us want to be progressing players. Also, at his young age, part of the Dutch team already been called up. He was called up in the Euros, which is great for a young player like that, and to be alongside. I mean, the Dutch team's a very good team. To be alongside them squad members, training along Van Dijk, it's It's really important for the likes of Timber, and that's really promising. 5'11" is under 6 foot, which a lot of people do seem to be. I mean, there's some people that say it doesn't really matter about height anymore, as long as he's got the strength, as long as he's got the leap on him, and as long as he can win aerial duels. That's what's the most important thing. And he's got the pace, recovery pace, he's got the strength, which is really important. The other end of the spectrum is, have you seen a Premier League defender in the last 10 years in the Premier League that has been extremely good under 6 foot? I don't think I could name one. But there's always a first. 5'11" isn't far off, is it? And you've seen the players like Kunde. He's not a tall centre back, yet he still does really well, and he's one of the most highly rated centre backs in world football. If you're looking at players to come into different clubs and looking for a transfer, and a club is looking for a centre back, so I definitely think that height isn't an issue. Right-footed, a lot of people want to go for a left-footed centre-back to play a left-sided defence. I don't think it really matters as long as a player can play there. Yeah, I saw Varane play left-sided defence actually at Old Trafford before Luke Shaw got injured, partnering Luke Shaw instead of Maguire, and I thought it worked really well. So I think Varane going in that position is definitely an option. He's got awareness, great tactical intelligence, on the ball composure. He's a player that's willing to push into midfield when necessary and has the awareness to know when and how to adjust his positioning. He's an aggressive defender, and a lot of times this season, Romero has been touted as one of the signings of the season for Tottenham. I've seen him push up on players and make really aggressive tackles and win the ball high up the field. Even though Tottenham don't even necessarily play that high up the field, you see Romero come out into that role, push up, make them aggressive tackles. That's something that Timber could definitely be useful for us. And when that happens, you see Son and Kane, Kulusevski break, and it's resulted in goals. I've seen it happen with my own eyes, and I've said to who I was watching football with at the time, wow, this Romero's really good. It's sensing out the danger, making the aggressive tackles and winning the ball high up the pitch. That's definitely something that I think Timber could bring to Manchester United, and something that we're lacking. Because oftentimes you've seen, I've seen Varane do it. I've seen Varane push close onto his opposition and win the ball. But oftentimes when Maguire's done it, he's often got turned and then he's not got the recovery pace to get back. The thing is with Timber is he actually has the recovery pace to get back, and he times his challenges really well and isn't often left flat-footed, which we've seen happen with Maguire numerous times. So it's something different, it's something new, and it's something that we definitely need to improve within the squad, because it's really important that we get a player with pace that can play this high line and that can play with the ball at his feet as well. This is something that I know that everyone in the chat knows, but to be able to play with the ball at your feet in the Premier League is so important, especially when we're going to be playing possession-based football. And Timber, the way he moves the ball through the lines, the way he has composure on the ball, and the way he can move into midfield and play with the ball at his feet comfortably, really clinical, really aggressive in the way he moves the ball across the pitch. I think it's a massive strength that Manchester United can really kind of capitalise on, because Maguire came in to be that ball playing centre back, and I think he's predictable. I think he's overrated at it, and I think he's predictable. Oftentimes you see him just pass out to Luke Shaw, get the ball back to him, hospital ball into Fred, and it's not worked out, and we've lost the ball. Timber, he looks after that ball so well, and he really can read passes through the lines. And I think that's something that's going to be important, especially with potentially Donny coming back, trying to adapt that Ajax style of football. It's a pass and move player that is comfortable with the ball at his feet, which not a lot of our players have been. And that's why we've lost the ball high up the pitch. We've lost the ball in the final third, and we've not been able to recover from it. He not only can pass through the lines, but he also has the recovery pace to deal with it if he loses the ball. So I definitely think he's a player. He's definitely a player that can do that for us. And obviously Torres is another player that we've been linked to that doesn't seem as likely, but we can't seem to get him off the transfer news with the way he's been linked to Manchester United. We can't seem to get rid of this link, and he's definitely a player that Manchester United have been looking at. The scouts are definitely interested in. A little bit older than Timber, 25, so coming into his prime. And he's someone that Manchester United really have been looking at, and the transfer news won't go away. I mean, people in the chat, let me know what you think about the difference between Timber and Torres and who you would prefer. I know a lot of people saying that they see Torres as a Lindelof part two, and I agree with you in that sense. He is taller, but isn't as physical, and aerially isn't as strong. He only won 47% of his aerial duels last year in La Liga. So even though his height is more than Timber, his aerial duels still isn't up there with the best of the best. He is good in possession, and he is a bit more of an established defender who is older, more in his prime, has a bit more experience, has played well in the Champions League, but still don't think he's not. I feel like Timber has a higher ceiling, and he's not completely wowed me the times I've watched him. But guys, get in the chat what you think. And a lot of people saying go for both. Keith Garner, who has been a member for 2 months, says, don't understand why we ain't linked with that Bassey from Rangers. He was dominant in Europa final at centre-back, quick, strong and good in possession. Well, I mean, we've probably got a lot of centre-backs on our list, but the two that Manchester United have prioritised do seem to be Torres and Timber, with the news that is coming out around that. A lot of people saying no to Torres. We've been after Torres for 2 seasons. Wouldn't be surprised if we sign him. Torres more accomplished centre-back, but if Timber has played under Ten Hag and he wants him, trust the manager's judgment. And I think that's really important that we do. A great comment there. We have to trust the manager's judgment. And whether Manchester United are saying that they want to get Pau Torres or not, the big thing is that you want to get the person that Ten Hag wants. David T says we need to get players in quicker. Other teams already signing players. Torres not good enough. Koundé be better signing. Keep up the good work. #Bethbridge. I see a lot of them comments all the time, and yeah, I mean, I agree. We need to get this transfer window off to a really quick start. We need to move players in, especially with all the positions that we need to be getting in, especially with all the players that we need to have in before pre-season, in my opinion, to make sure they're up to speed, ready with Ten Hag's style of play, not left behind, ready to start in the Premier League in Ten Hag's system. We do need to move quicker. An example of that, honestly, Aston Villa got Kamara in straight away. He's signed, and he's going to be signed on the 1st of June as a free agent for Aston Villa. Already looking at getting Yves Bissouma. And I heard today that they're also looking at getting a centre-back in as well. That is good business from Aston Villa. It shows ambition. And all 3 targets that they're looking at, you wouldn't bat an eyelid if Manchester United signed them. And where did Aston Villa finish in the league this year? Did they finish? I swear they finished like 16th, around somewhere like that. So that shows ambition, and Manchester United really need to match the ambition of some of these clubs, because if not, we'll get left behind, and that's something that we definitely don't want to be doing. We really don't want to be getting left behind, because it's something that can definitely happen. Tottenham, with the money that they've got invested, 150 million transfer war chest were being reported. We need to make sure we get these deals done and stamp ourselves on the market, so other players know that we're serious and know that we're taking this project serious as well. We've got a chat here saying Timber will be used as a right back. That's why we are looking for another centre back. I mean, I don't see that happening. He can play right back. He definitely can. And he has played there for Ajax before. But the majority of his appearances have been at centre-back. And I do think the word alongside that Fabrizio Romano used does seem to me that he's being weighed up for Manchester United as a centre-back. And I do see him as a centre-back, to be honest with you. So, I mean, I think with Timber and with Torres, Timber does seem more advanced, but definitely keep an eye on that. I think before June, I think we'll get some concrete information whether that's going to go ahead. But Source is saying it's practically done. So you never know. We could come back on the afternoon show, the 8 p.m. show tonight, and this could really be a deal that's advanced. And I don't see why it wouldn't be, to be honest. Good relationship with Ajax. 35 million. The fee will not be a problem, and it's a step up for Timber in his career. So definitely keep an eye out on that, guys, because it's really, really good information that we might be signing a centre back really soon at Ten Hag's first signing. It'll be interesting to see when that happens. And another signing that we seem to be looking at following the centre-back coming out from Fabrizio Romano. Soon there'll be time for a new centre-back, but soon there'll be time for a new striker, with Darwin Nunez already discussed internally at the club. Darwin Nunez back on the lips of Fabrizio Romano. Things went a little bit quiet around Darwin Nunez. In my opinion, I feel like we were really highly linked to him, and then news around Timber and Torres started coming out, and Darwin Nunez' story did become a little bit quieter. It seems like Manchester United are definitely still going in for a striker, and it seems like that option is going to be Darwin Nunez. He's a player that Manchester United have discussed internally. He's a player that I think would suit Ten Hag's system. He's a player that if he comes in, he'll probably need time to adjust, which works perfect with the Cristiano Ronaldo situation. The only thing that I would think about is would he be okay to sit on the bench? Because Ronaldo's still going to be the first choice centre forward next season, and after that 100% Darwin Nunez will take over and he'll be our out and out number 9, and the whole point of next season is for him to learn off Cristiano Ronaldo, still get game time because we've got a lot of competitions. Ronaldo is going to be 38. There's a World Cup coming up. We've got Europa League football, so he is going to get a lot of time in there, and it doesn't put as much pressure on him to adapt to the Premier League. So if I'm Darwin Nunez now and Manchester United are coming in for me, one, you get to learn off the greatest striker that some would say has ever been. 2, you get time to adapt to the Premier League without massive pressure from the fans, because you're not the only option that we've got. You're not the only reliance, and you know Ronaldo's going to score goals. And 3, it's the start of a new project where you could lead eventually as Manchester United's number 9. I think it's a really big opportunity for him. And of course, there'll be different clubs interested. There's been talks that possibly Arsenal and Newcastle are interested, but thankfully Arsenal didn't get top 4. So to me, Manchester United leads that race based off the fact that they're just a bigger club with a better reputation, and they've brought in a manager that's really exciting, that he's going to start a new project. So Darwin Nunez, I think, is definitely a player that we could be after, and keep an eye out on that one as well, because I don't see why that would take a long time either, because obviously it's a more expensive price. Reports coming out around 75 million. But it's Benfica are willing to sell, and Darwin Nunez wants to move. So he's a player that we've got to be quick on before any other club comes in and steals him away. We know Nkunku is off the market now. He will be staying at Leipzig. So that competition for Nunez is gone off the radar. So it does seem like he is our number 1 target, with Ten Hag really wanting to bring a striker in and the club wanting to do that too. And I think it'd be a good move. And I think having Ronaldo there for that year is definitely something that would be exciting for Nunez, and is exciting for the club as well, to be able to develop someone alongside Ronaldo. So let me know in the chat if you agree that Nunez is a good signing, being compared to a little bit of a younger Edison Cavani, which, I mean, you don't want to get too far ahead of players at this point. He is Uruguayan, which is why you would say that, but I do think he definitely would be a good fit. And also another player that his future has been talked about a lot recently. His future has been up in the air. There's talks of new contract. There's talks as whether he's been good enough at Manchester United. It's been reported from The Telegraph by James Ducker that Bayern Munich are believed to be keeping an eye on Rashford's situation in the event of other targets do not come off. But the player has set his sights on winning back his place at MUFC under Ten Hag and rediscovering his best form. So that's interesting, coming out from The Telegraph, that Bayern Munich have eyes for Marcus Rashford. We'll talk about that more in a second, but this super chat from Michael Neal: should be tapping up Nkunku for January for next summer, tap up Rice for next season or season after for a decent price. Definitely think Nkunku is a player that is going to end up moving somewhere big, but whether that's going to happen in January, and we know what Manchester United are like in January transfer window, is debatable. It's very debatable. But Marcus Rashford, he's going on a training camp as well. He wants to undergo some intense one where the training in the US next month as he bids to hit the ground running under new manager Erik ten Hag, also being reported by The Telegraph. So you've got two stories there where Bayern Munich are interested in Marcus Rashford, but Marcus Rashford wants to stay at MUFC. We know that Bayern are interested in getting a forward in, interested in getting a potential forwards winger striker situation going because they've been interested in Sadio Mane. Reports have come out about that. But also the fact that they're interested in Rashford now. It is a big club that could offer Rashford good wages, could offer Rashford Champions League football. But Rashford, as stated, he wants to stay at MUFC and he wants to get a new chance under Erik ten Hag. Whether fans agree with that, whether fans think we should move on and cash in, it's up to the fans. And I know a lot of people have very differing opinions. And get in the chat below what you would do with Marcus Rashford. Would you cash in and get the money and welcome another forward, or spend it on potentially a fullback when he has been extremely poor form in a while? Or would you go out and would you give Marcus Rashford another chance at Manchester United? And do you think Ten Hag can turn him around? I mean, we've seen Ten Hag turn the likes of Tadic into a great player for Ajax. We've seen Ten Hag turn Haller into Champions League top goal scorer before they got knocked out of the competition. And we've seen Ten Hag do a lot with forward players and develop players at Ajax. I mean, the likes of Antony is one of the hot prospect wingers now going throughout Europe. And Ten Hag has had this reputation to develop young forward players and forward players in general. So I think personally for me, I would be looking to give Rashford a chance and I would be looking to see how he would develop under Ten Hag. But if you're looking to get other players in and move on from him and look to get potentially more talented players that offer more, then he is a player, if you've not got the money, that you could cash in on and could get money for. And there would definitely, I've said this so many times, that there would definitely be interest in Marcus Rashford from different teams. There would definitely be interested from top teams in Europe. PSG were interested in him. Obviously, they've re-signed Mbappe, so he definitely isn't going to be going there. Bayern Munich are losing Lewandowski, so they're going to want a forward player to come into the mix. And he has been respected across Europe, Marcus. He has been. I mean, probably from what he's done in the Champions League a couple of times, scoring some really important goals. But after returning from injury, Rashford only made 13 Premier League starts last season, 32 appearances across all competitions, only scoring 4 goals. And for a forward player at the elite level, that is just simply not good enough. And it isn't only the fact that he's only scored 4 goals and he's not been making appearances. It's the fact when he has been making appearances, he hasn't looked up for it. He hasn't, to me, it hasn't looked like he's got the aggression that he used to have. Even when he's at full speed pace-wise and full speed sprints, it doesn't seem like the same Marcus Rashford as we've seen before. And he's a player that's come under extreme scrutiny and extreme criticism this season, and rightly so, because he's a player that we relied on a lot last season for goals. Still wasn't playing great though. That's what you've got to rewind and think. He still wasn't playing great last season, and the excuse then was that he was playing with an injury. He's come back from that injury, and now the excuse is hangover from the Euros. But Bukayo Saka, you could have said the same for him. He missed a penalty, hangover from the Euros, had, for me, one of the best players of the season. So you can't always use these excuses with players. And he is a player that massively needs to look himself in the mirror and find some improvement. We've got a super chat here from Joel Morris. United should be in for Luke de Jong this summer. Would be perfect striker for United and would work well in a Ten Hag system. Well, Joel Morris, you have read Ten Hag's mind there, because he is a player that Ten Hag is after. Whether we can get him out of Barcelona is a different story. No Champions League football is something that is really going to hinder us in bringing them type of players to Old Trafford this season, to be honest. The connection he's got with Ten Hag could definitely help the situation, but no Champions League football, trying to bring in someone that talented and that of a high profile will be hard. Man United 1999. Hi Beth, can you wish my son happy birthday? He's 4 today. Any news on midfielder? Right, I don't want to get your son's name wrong, so I will say happy birthday, Jaskaran, and happy 4th birthday, and I hope you have a lovely day. So yeah, I hope I said that right, but sometimes I'm not the best at pronouncing names. But yeah, Marcus Rashford, he is going to undergo the training camp, and he is going to train through his holiday, and he wants to come back for pre-season 100% fit and raring to go under Ten Hag. I do think if he's got any chance, which he definitely has a chance, he's got to come back raring to go, and he's got to come back with that hunger and with that fitness and the sharpest that he's ever been. Because Ten Hag looking at the back of Rashford's season this season, he's not going to be impressed. He's going to see a player that's lost. He's going to see a player that hasn't really contributed in possession and hasn't done what he's there to do, which is score goals. So his fitness needs to be key. His work ethic and attitude needs to be on point, and he does need to be really sharp. So you can't knock Rashford for doing this. You cannot knock Rashford for going out and working through his holiday, which players should be doing if they want a head start with a new manager and want to be it's like if you want to be in the good books with the manager, that's what you want to be doing. You want to be arriving to pre-season raring to go and ready. And Rashford doing this, to me, it seems like he knows he really needs to try and impress, and he knows he needs to get back up to speed. And he obviously missed a lot of pre-season, or he missed the whole of pre-season last year, so he doesn't want that to happen again, and he wants to start the season quickly under a fresh start, which you can't knock him for doing. So hopefully his attitude is in the right place, and we see him working with Ten Hag and becoming the best version of Rashford. Whether he can do it, I'm not sure. In the chat below, do you think Marcus Rashford can come back and be a revolution for Manchester United this next season? Do you think he's got it in his locker? Do you think he'll be starting for Ten Hag? Do you think he's going to revive his career? Or do you see it being the same type of Rashford season, and then eventually we'll have to sell him? Get your opinions in the chat below. But Rashford, he's a player that we could utilise next season, depending on if his form improves and his Ten Hag can get the best out of him. Another player that seems to have gone lost and seems to be completely written off for Manchester United is actually Anthony Martial. So Anthony Martial, he did go to Sevilla on loan. He had a massively unsuccessful season with Manchester United, pushed straight onto the back burner when Ollie signed Ronaldo, didn't really get much of a chance, had massive falling outs with Rangnick, and it seemed like the fans as well. But the Sevilla president, Jose Castro, says Anthony Martial will return to MUFC. We spent important money on him, but it didn't work. Also, he had injuries, and we're not going to buy him on a permanent deal, being reported by Fabrizio Romano again. So Anthony Martial is returning to Manchester United. Whether he's returning just to pack his bags and go somewhere else again, it is yet to be decided and yet to be seen. But he's definitely returning, and he won't be staying at Sevilla. And Sevilla definitely aren't going to buy him on a permanent deal, coming from the horse's mouth himself, the Sevilla president. It's interesting that he said it didn't work, because it didn't work, and it's just brutal and to the point. And this has been the problem with Anthony Martial. It would be arguable to say whether he did or didn't work at United. If you spoke to someone like Ricky, he'd probably say that he did work. But if you spoke to a different fan I personally like Martial, but I would say it didn't work, because he had moments and he had one season where he was really good. But for his talent and for how long he's been at the club, it's been extremely inconsistent, and it's been massively up and down with Martial, and also injuries as well. Just seen Stephen Hawke in the chat, who is a member, say injuries have finished Martial. I definitely think it's something that has hindered him, because whenever he's been having a good run in the team, he gets injured and he loses his place, and then he finds it hard to get back in. And we've discussed it a lot on the show. He does seem to be a mentality player. He seems to be a player that the manager really needs to get behind him and fully back him. He needs to feel fully wanted in order to produce his best type of football. that's when he produced his best type of football under Ollie in that season. I think it was a season where we're in COVID under lockdown and we're playing behind closed doors. And when you have your best season in a season like that, you come to think, is it playing in front of fans a mentality problem? Is it the fact that he was Ollie's only option for a striker that season? So Ollie fully got behind him and he was given a lot of game time, which is why he did well. Because we saw when Jose came in, criticised him, brought in Ibrahimovic, took the number off him, which the number being taken off him, slightly harsh in my opinion, a little bit harsh, especially when you've been given that number. And Mourinho openly criticised him, didn't give him as much game time. You saw him, his season was very up and down and inconsistent. And then when Ollie did bring in Ronaldo, and even when he brought in Cavani, realistically, he started to go downhill. He was hindered with injuries, but whenever he's got some sort of competition there, he seems to not perform as well, which definitely isn't going to go down for him well if he comes this summer, because we know that Manchester United are going to buy a striker and we've already got Ronaldo. So I don't think he'd be playing in the striker role. I think he'd be competing as a winger. So it's whether he wants to compete, which I don't think we've seen previously that he does want to do that. He wants to be number one choice. Jadon Sancho just put in the chat, big up for the show, Beth. I mean, I hope it's the actual Jadon Sancho. I'm joking. I mean, it might be. It might be. If it is, then I don't, this is the type of people I pull into these shows. I'm joking, guys. But yeah, Jadon Sancho, someone who Martial would have to compete with if he came back into the squad. And I know a lot of people really don't want Martial back in the club, but I think behind Sancho, actually, just got a super chat from him. Behind Sancho, he probably is, if not one of the most technically gifted players that we have at the club, in the forward line anyway, especially on the wings. I think he's definitely more technically gifted than Rashford. It's just the fact he's not been able to put it into play and he's not been able to keep it consistently. Would Ten Hag be able to revive him? Would Ten Hag be able to get his career back on track? Potentially. I do think there's potential there. And if someone said to me now, would you want him as part of your squad for next season if he was willing to work hard under Ten Hag? I would say yes, because he's got the talent. And I've seen Mark talk about it on shows before. If you go and look shopping in the French league for a striker and you're going for these players, are they better than Martial? I don't think they are. And why are we wasting money when we've already got a player? If he completely doesn't want to play for Manchester United and still definitely wants to leave and can't be convinced of the project under Ten Hag, it's definitely time to ship him off. We don't want a player there that doesn't want to play for Manchester United. Let's just get that clear now. Everybody needs to be in the same boat and everybody needs to be on board with the project and have the correct attitude, the correct mentality. It's just, I think he could do it and I think it would be his best option. I really do think it would be. He could get into that team if he worked hard and developed under Ten Hag. Whereas if he left, he's going to have to take a wage cut. No one's taking him on his wages. Is he going to be playing at a club of the same stature? I don't think so. And I just think there's limited options out there for Martial. It's really sad that at this point of his career, that's what's happened. But you know what? 25, still got a lot of time left. I wouldn't write him off, but it is hard after the inconsistencies that he has had. But make sure you get your comments in the chat around Martial. Would you want him or not? Oh, we've just got a Fabrizio Romano tweet here coming in from Twitter that broke just I think it was a couple of minutes ago. And Fabrizio Romano 20 minutes ago. I've got my amazing producer in my ear telling me that. Barca President Laporta to a newspaper outlet that I can't pronounce. Frenkie de Jong, yes, we have received proposals, but he has great quality. We think he should continue at Barca. Selling players right now, everything is open. In this case, it will depend a lot on the issue of fair play. So just to repeat that, Frenkie de Jong, yes, we have received proposals. This is the Barca president, but he has a great quality. We think he should continue at Barca. And I would take that as Frenkie de Jong isn't leaving if he didn't put the last bit in, which is selling players right now, everything is open. In this case, will depend on financial fair play. So to me, that just reinstates the same thing that we've been saying that we've heard for a few weeks now. They're acting like they don't want to sell Frenkie de Jong and that they want to keep him at the club, but they're also nowhere near ruling it out. And they're also basically saying that they're going to have to sell players for financial fair play. They're not going to be able to get the players in they want this summer without selling. And who at Barcelona are they going to sell? He's an asset that you can get money for. I definitely think if Manchester United come in and offer the right amount of money for De Jong, that they sell him. I really do. And yes, I do think they're holding out, so they get 80 million euros, which I don't think Manchester United should pay at all. There was rumours going on about 65, 68 million euros, and then Barca president came out, said 80 million euros. That is because they know Ten Hag wants Luka de Jong, and it's because they know Manchester United have got money to spend. That is why they're doing that. They want as much money for him as they can because of financial fair play. And I think they're really trying to play hardball and make Manchester United pay the most possible. I don't think de Jong will stay at Barcelona. I actually do think Manchester United have a very, very good chance of getting him. It's just whether we go out and pay the money and whether Manchester United hold out and do play hardball, because I definitely wouldn't want to be going in and spending 80 million, because I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to push us to get the most amount of money as possible, which is fair enough, and which is what they should be doing, considering the financial fair play that the issues that they've got. Lastly, before we finish up the show, we've got some news coming out here from Chris Wheeler, and I think it's news that we've heard, but just to reinstate, Mike Phelan and Ralph Rangnick's backroom staff will leave MUFC coaching team. Phelan is hugely respected and may continue his association with United in some capacity, depending on the outcome of discussions, but he will not be in the dugout. Eric Ramsey set-piece coach and goalkeeper coach Richard Hartis are staying. That's really important news to me, because we don't want Mike Phelan around the club. He's been part of a failure. We don't want coaching staff around this club that have been part of a failure, and that the players go into the dressing room and say, well, we've not done anything under these coaches so far. We've had a poor season with these coaches. They've not been able to develop us. And I think having fresh staff in there that are Ten Hag's own staff, having Ten Hag's own staff on the dugout, it makes it clear to the fans, the players, and all the teams around them that it is a fresh start. And that's what the most important thing is. Manchester United are desperately in need of a fresh start. Mike Phelan, what does he actually do? If someone can tell me what he does, I'd be greatly appreciated. To me, it just seems like he stands on the sidelines, puts the cones out, as Kev would say, and doesn't seem to offer much. And he was part of Ollie's coaching network, brought him back to the club because he knew the club. People would say potentially similar to McLaren. I don't see that. McLaren's had a really successful coaching career, not managerial career, but coaching career. He's had a success in. Mike Phelan, when he went away from Old Trafford under Sir Alex, hasn't been successful. He came back and he wasn't successful on his second return back to Old Trafford. So I definitely think it's important that we get rid of the people that don't show success and have failed. And that's what we're doing. Eric Ramsey set-piece coach staying. To me, that says he needs to work harder, because set-pieces have been a problem again this year. Not as much defensively, to be fair, but attacking-wise, we need to get better massively off corners with the height that we have. But McTominay and Maguire in there, even Varane, we need to be scoring more goals from headers. Obviously, you've got Ronaldo, who is Ronaldo. He doesn't need a set-piece coach. He knows exactly what he's doing, but other players around him are going to need help with that, and it's something that we definitely need to capitalise on and improve on. And the goalkeeper coach staying, don't have a problem with that, because De Gea has been class this season, so he's obviously doing something right. Not only is it De Gea's natural talent, but the goalkeeping staff has always seemed to be very good at Manchester United, and they seem to put a lot of work into that. So I have no problems with that, but thankfully, Mickey Phelan will no longer be on the dugout at Old Trafford. It really is an end of an era. Progressive Dad has said, we want to be the best, but we don't want to get the best. I'm still bummed about Tchouaméni. We need him. That's one that I was really gutted about, I'm not going to lie. Real Madrid, I knew they were going to do it as soon as they missed out on Mbappe. They've got this spare money to spend, and they've always been eyeing up Tchouaméni. It's always been a rumour. So it's definitely something that I saw happening, and it happened straight away. And he's someone that Manchester United really hasn't been on Manchester United's radar, which I find mind-boggling to me because they seem to like French players, played in the French international team alongside Pogba, and he's a young, really promising centre defensive midfielder, which we're in massive need of. And again, seem to be neglecting this summer. I mean, we are going to get one centre midfielder, but in my opinion, we need two drastically. And he was definitely someone that I feel like Manchester United should be going for. But Real Madrid, Champions League final, and actually interested in you. Manchester United, no interest, no Champions League, and have had an awful season. It makes sense that we've not been able to get him, or we've not gone for him. Karen took the kids. Interesting name. Mike Phelan makes bacon butties like Shaw. Beth, leave him alone. That's your opinion. That's your opinion there. I mean, we need someone to work in the canteen. So maybe he could potentially end up doing that job, as he is still going to be associated with Manchester United. But Mike Phelan, he won't be in the dugout, and that's what's most important. So yeah, it's going to be a new project with Erik ten Hag. It seems like from the news that we've got this morning that Jurriën Timber, or in fact a centre-back, could be Pau Torres, but more likely Jurriën Timber is going to be Manchester United's first signing and could happen imminently. It could happen very, very soon. And it seems like it's going to be a fee for around 35 million euros, with a lot of people saying it potentially is nearly done. Could be done very, very soon. So keep your eyes out on that. Fabrizio Romano coming out and confirming that we are going to spend money this summer. We are going to get players in the centre-back position, the full-back position. That'll be interesting to see who we go for on that. Centre-mid position, striker position. Darwin Nunez being talked about internally. Martial, can he revive his career under Ten Hag? And Rashford trying to do that as we speak by enjoying himself on a training camp before the start of pre-season. There's lots of interesting things coming out, guys. There's going to be lots of news coming out. We have got to that season where there is going to be so much news coming out, and there is going to be different journalists trying to be first on different things. There is going to be links to a lot of players who we might not actually be going for because of the Manchester United name. But one thing we do know for a fact is Timber is being talked about internally. He is close to being done at Manchester United, and hopefully we can announce that signing as soon as on the channel, and we get the likes of Fabrizio Romano, David Ornstein confirming that for us soon. But thank you so much, guys, for joining me on the morning show. We'll be back at 2 p.m. We'll be back at 8 p.m. Could be more breaking news throughout the day. And thank you for joining us. Get in your comments down below. Who do you think it's going to be?